In a moment, you're going to hear an introductory statement by the 5 people who recorded this test. The purpose of this introduction is to give the proctor an opportunity to adjust the recording equipment or make changes in your seating arrangement before the actual test begins. Now listen carefully to the statement by each of the speakers whom you will hear on the test. I must hurry. My next class begins in half an hour.
I must hurry. My next class begins in half an hour.
I must hurry. My next class begins in half an hour.
I must hurry. My next class begins in half an hour.
I must hurry. My next class begins in half an hour.
Listening. Approximate time 30 minutes. Part A. Directions. There are 2 kinds of problems in Part A. One kind requires you to answer a short question. The other to show that you understand a short statement. These questions and statements will be spoken just one time. They are not written out in the test book, so you will have to listen carefully. When you hear a question, read the 4 answers given in your test book and select the one you believe to be correct. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the problem and fill in the space containing the letter of the answer you have chosen. When you hear a statement, read the 4 sentences and decide which one is closest in meaning to or best supported by the statement. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the problem and mark your answer. Listen to the following example. You will hear,
How often do you go to the movies?
you will read, A. The theater's close. We usually walk. B. No, we don't go all that much. C. Once every week or 2. D. Because we both enjoy movies. Sentence C. Once every week or 2 is the best response to the question, how often do you go to the movies? Therefore, you should choose answer C. Listen to the next example. You will hear,
James relaxed with a sigh of relief when he heard the news.
you will read, A. The news was very disappointing. B. The news was better than expected. C. The news made James very sad. D. The news made James extremely nervous. Sentence B, the news was better than expected, is best supported by the statement, James relaxed with a sigh of relief when he heard the news. Therefore, you should choose answer B. Now let us begin Part A. Try to respond to every problem. Be sure to mark all answers on your answer sheet and completely fill the lettered space with a heavy, dark mark so that you cannot see the letter. Number 1. Richard refused to let the doctor examine his injured leg, even though it looked pretty serious. Number 2. The crowd cheered the candidate's speech, drowning out the hecklers at the back of the auditorium. Go on to the next page. Number 3.
Do you find it hard to learn a foreign language?
Number 4.
Since Clarissa did well in geometry, do you think she is also likely to do well in calculus?
Number 5.
Voice lessons give aspiring singers not better voices, but rather a greater ability to use effectively whatever voices they happen to have.
Number 6.
How often do you think review periods are necessary for this course?
Number 7.
The rehearsal starts in half an hour, but we'll be there in 20 minutes.
Number 8. I was sure the meeting was today. Imagine my surprise when I arrived and found the building empty and dark. Number 9.
If school administrators are not convinced that a writing program is necessary, the program is doomed to failure.
Number 10.
On the basis of my past experience with Anna, I'm sure that she would have met the publisher's deadline if her typist hadn't been hospitalized during the week before the book was due.
Number 11.
None of the athletes competing today have even come close to matching their previous best performance.
Go on to the next page. Number 12.
Was Gerald late to baseball practice again?
Number 13. If your performance in this course doesn't improve by the end of the semester, I can't be responsible for the consequences. Number 14.
If our gallery wraps your painting and delivers it by messenger rather than shipping it, there will be less risk of the glass breaking.
Number 15. The school board voted 4-3 with 2 abstentions not to increase course fees in the School of Continuing Education. Number 16.
The woodworking shop is just big enough for classes of 10 students at a time, but 40 students have pre-registered for woodworking.
Number 17.
Many people work most efficiently when they have to work against a deadline, even if it is an arbitrary one.
Number 18. What's the difference between your position on the proposed school funding reform and Jennifer's position on the reform? Number 19.
Everyone complained that the textbook you used last semester was confusing. So why not adopt another text?
Number 20.
Joanna sees more movies than I do.
This is the end of Part A. Go on to Part B. Part B. Directions. In Part B, you will hear 6 short conversations between two speakers. At the end of each conversation, a third voice will ask questions about what was said. The questions will be spoken just one time. After you hear a conversation and a question about it, read the 4 possible answers and decide which one would be the best answer to the question. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the problem and mark your answer. Listen to the following example. You will hear,
Is this Transglobe Airlines? I'd like to know when flights leave New York for Tokyo.
I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. Please dial again.
how is the woman trying to contact the airline office? You will read, A. By letter. B. By radio. C. By telephone. D. By telegram. From the conversation, we know that the woman is speaking on the telephone. The best answer then is C. By telephone. Therefore, you should choose answer C. Now let us begin Part B. Try to respond to every problem. Be sure to mark all answers on your answer sheet and completely fill the lettered space with a heavy dark mark so that you cannot see the letter. Question 21 is based on the following conversation.
I forgot to ask my class how many of them watched Hamlet on television last night.
Probably quite a few. Most of my class watched it, and I didn't even assign it for homework as you did. I just told them they would get extra credit if they did watch it.
Number 21. What do we know about the two speakers? Questions 22 and 23 are based on the following conversation.
As gas prices go up, rural school districts are hit disproportionately hard because they have dozens of miles of school bus routes.
Well, what makes you think that urban school districts like mine have an easy time of it? We have shorter routes, but we have more of them, so we have exactly the same problems you do.
Number 22. The woman makes which of the following points? Number 23. Which of the following statements best describes the exchange you have just heard? Questions 24 and 25 are based on the following conversation.
Larry, are you okay? You were tackled pretty hard in the game Saturday. We thought maybe you'd sprained your knee.
No, the doctor says it's just a pulled leg muscle. But she says I have to stay off it for a week, and she doesn't want me playing football again until she's sure it's completely healed.
Number 24. When can the young man return to the football team? Number 25. What do we learn about the young man's injury? Go on to the next page. Questions 26 and 27 are based on the following conversation.
Well, this has certainly been an easier year in school for Sean than last year was.
The adjustment problems always make the first year of school rough.
Number 26. What do we learn about Sean? Number 27. When did this conversation probably take place? Questions 28 and 29 are based on the following conversation.
I know it's only Tuesday, but I thought I'd stop by to see if you had a chance to repair my jigsaw and my electric heater.
The jigsaw is all ready. It had a loose connection in the on-off switch, but the switch didn't need replacing. The electric heater had a faulty thermostat, though, and I had to send out for a new part. It won't be ready until the day after tomorrow.
Number 28. When can the customer pick up her electric heater from the repair shop? Number 29. What was the problem with the customer's jigsaw? Questions 30 and 31 are based on the following conversation.
When did you lose the hat that I just bought you?
I don't know.
Where did you lose it?
I didn't lose it. I just can't find it right now.
Number 30. What does the tone of the woman's voice suggest? Number 31. The boy interprets lose to mean which of the following? This is the end of Part B. Go on to Part C. Part C. Directions. In this part of the test, you will hear several short talks. After each talk, you will be asked some questions. The talks and questions will be spoken just one time. They will not be written out for you, so you will have to listen carefully in order to understand and remember what the speaker says. When you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers in your test book and decide which one would be the best answer to the question you have heard. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the problem and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen. Now let us begin Part C. Try to respond to every problem. Be sure to mark all answers on your answer sheet and completely fill the lettered space with a heavy dark mark so that you cannot see the letter.
Questions 32, 33, and 34 are based on the following talk.
If the unemployment rate goes higher this winter, the rate of colds, stomach aches, asthma, and injuries among children may well keep pace. In a recent North Carolina study, those medical problems were found to be much more common among children from families in which a parent had been laid off from a local firm than among children from families in which a parent had kept a job with the same firm. An earlier theory had held that after a parent loses a job, children may get sick because the families eat less well and go to the doctor less often. The North Carolina study found, however, that the children's poor health had more to do with the emotional impact than with the economic impact of a parent's losing a job.
Number 32. What is the main idea of the talk? Number 33. According to the results of the North Carolina study, the impact of a parent's unemployment on a child is primarily which of the following? Number 34. It can be inferred that the North Carolina researchers have which of the following attitudes toward the idea that physical illness can have a psychological cause? Questions 35, 36, and 37 are based on the following talk.
Writers' works tend to reflect what these writers know and what they have experienced. This is certainly the case with black writers in the United States. They tend to write about the people they have lived among, black people, and they tend to write about the black experience in this country. Even so, black writers of certain periods seem to be more interested in strictly racial themes than do their counterparts in other periods. Indeed, this matter of racial consciousness in black literary works seems to be cyclical. Periods of lessened racial consciousness seem to be followed by periods of more intense racial consciousness. Immediately after being freed from slavery, black writers wanted black people to be accepted by the white majority, and they themselves wanted to be accepted as artists. So their works, which were written in the conventional literary idiom and with the literary techniques of the day, tended to convey the idea that blacks were just like whites in all things save their skin color. They had the same goals, the same fears, and the same dreams. This period was followed by a period of intense racial consciousness in the 1920s called the Harlem Renaissance. Black writers searched for their unique identity in their African and Afro-American roots, and their works reflected this search.
Number 35. With what issue is the speaker of this passage most concerned? Number 36. The speaker suggests which of the following? Number 37. According to the speaker, the black writers who wrote immediately after slavery were concerned with doing which of the following? Questions 38, 39, and 40 are based on the following talk.
Teachers are much better trained today than were their counterparts in the 19th century. Until the early 1900s, most teachers had only to master the subject matter of the grades they would teach. They were not trained in the skills of teaching. In the early 20th century, new knowledge from the behavioral sciences was responsible for the vast improvements in teacher training programs. The effect of such reforms is felt even today, since, in addition to the academic subject matter they will teach, teachers are required to study the psychology of learning and the ways in which socioeconomic factors influence learning.
Number 38. The speaker makes which of the following assertions? Number 39. According to the talk, when did significant reforms occur in teacher training? Number 40. According to the talk, a result of reform was the requirement that teachers study which of the following?
This is the end of the listening section of the test. Wait for further instructions from your supervisor. Do not work on any other section in the test until you are told to do so. End of recording.